Hi friends, welcome to my office. I'm going to sit down today and talk about the three biggest paradigm shifts that I had to make when transitioning from the idea of being an employee to that of a business owner. Now, these are paradigm shifts that did not happen overnight, but hopefully through sharing with you, I can save you a little bit of time and get you on track to start thinking like a business owner. So sit back and let's get started. All right, so the first major paradigm shift you have to make is acknowledging the fact that owning a business is extremely different from having a job. And let me explain. So when most people go into business, they do so with this idea that they are just creating a new job for themselves. Now, maybe they are desperate to get out of a job that they have and they're unhappy. And now they're thinking, I'm going to take this thing that I'm passionate about and I'm going to replace my job making a living doing this thing. And although there is nothing wrong with that, if you're going into business with the mindset that you're just creating a new job for yourself, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. Let me give you an example. So let's say you love making cupcakes and everything about this process excites you. You love baking them, you love designing them, and you love sharing them with your friends. People are telling you all the time, you know what, Sarah, your cupcakes are amazing. You should open a shop. And one day you think to yourself, you know what, you're right. I could totally make a living selling cupcakes. So Sarah decides to open a business where she gets to share her cupcakes with the community. Now, if Sarah's going into it thinking most of her time will be spent making cupcakes, she's unfortunately going to be very disappointed because the reality is opening a business selling cupcakes is extremely different from just being the person who makes the cupcakes, right? So 90% of Sarah's time will be spent doing things other than just making cupcakes. So if what Sarah truly wants to do is just make cupcakes, then she needs to go and find a job for somebody else's business just making those cupcakes, because what comes next is going to be mostly work that doesn't involve the making of the cupcakes themselves. So this idea of working on your business versus working in your business is really a huge paradigm shift that we have to make as business owners. And the sooner that we can acknowledge that, the sooner we can ask the hard question. If I know I'm really good at making cupcakes, what are the other things that I need to learn to have a business that's successful making cupcakes? Those are more than likely skills that you don't already naturally have. So it's going to be a challenge. But if you can identify what's most important, then you know where to start. It's kind of like the 80-20 principle. You've probably heard this a million times, Pareto's Law. 80% of all the outcomes really do come from just 20% of the inputs. So if you can take your success and look and say, 80% of my business's success comes from just this 20% of my task, then you know those 20% are the ones that you should really focus on optimizing. So after you realize that building a business selling cupcakes is much more involved than just making a good cupcake, you're going to quickly realize that you're only one person and no single person can be an expert in every single area of their business. The sooner you make that shift, the sooner you're going to realize the importance of my next point, and that is eventually you will have to build your team. Now, don't get me wrong, during the infancy stage, there's going to be plenty of times where you're doing everything from working creatively, handling the finances, to mopping the floor and cleaning the toilet. That's completely normal. But at some point, you're going to have to start to build a professional team that will allow you to focus on what you should be doing that's most important in your business. And that is the work that only you can do. If you're not sure where to start, you can ask yourself these three questions. Is there something that you're really struggling with? Is there something that you absolutely hate doing? Or is there something that's taking up a ton of your time? Those may be good identifiers of tasks that are best to hand off to somebody else in your professional team. One of the first things many entrepreneurs hand off is their bookwork or their accounting. Now, if you're in a creative field like I was, I know that sitting down and doing bookwork isn't necessarily exciting. In fact, many find it creatively stifling. So that was a task that was easy to hand off. Now, I want to make a really big point on this. Just because you hand off something in your business, it does not mean that that thing stops being an active and involved process for yourself. You have to still make sure you understand what that team member is doing so you can ultimately make decisions that relate back to your business based on that metric. Now, as you begin to surround yourself with a good professional team, you're going to notice your business will grow, which this brings me to my next point, and perhaps the most important point of them all. The major paradigm shift that differentiates those who succeed from those who give up is really truly this: learning how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Business is hard. It's extremely hard. And if you think that you're going into business and it's going to be great all the time, really know this: the majority of your time will be spent in quite uncomfortable situations. You're going to have to learn how to get comfortable with being outside of your comfort zone. The reality is most businesses fail, and I truly believe those that don't are ran by great leaders that just know how to fail. It's kind of like John C. Maxwell's quote, and I love this: fail fast, fail often, but always fail forward. If you're going into business thinking that you're not going to fail, it's the wrong way to look at it. You're definitely going to be facing failure at one point or another. And if you can take those lessons and learn how to adapt and move forward, that's going to really set you apart from the crowd. It actually took me a really long time to have it sit well with me that most of my time was being spent in very uncomfortable situations. Business has a way of constantly pushing you to grow and adapt. And the sooner you get good at recognizing that those challenges are opportunities for growth, you'll actually move forward faster and get hung up less. Now, this does not mean that the only option is a never give up attitude, because there can be immense value in knowing when to quit as well. And anytime you have failure, it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of lessons that can be learned. I want to share a personal experience kind of along that line before we go. Last year, I found myself in the very public aftermath of a partnership that didn't work out. And the initial emotion of that failure really threw me for a tailspin. I wasn't able to move on until I acknowledged that my mindset was really stuck on this anger towards a situation that was completely outside of my control. And once I shifted that mindset to one of analyzing and understanding what is it that I can learn from this failure, that I was finally able to move forward. The lessons that I learned from that failure are completely invaluable. Mainly, don't go into business with your friends. So there you have it. If you have any questions, I always love hearing from you guys. If you like my content, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And I look forward to talking with you again next time.